Welcome to the podcast on one of the most powerful self-improvement books ever written, Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place where we really try to get past the surface level and dig into ideas that can genuinely change how we operate.
That's right.
And today, wow, we are unpacking a book that's had a massive impact on how millions think about growth and achievement. It's James Clear's Atomic Habits.
Oh, it's definitely a game changer. And James Clear, he's not just, an author throwing ideas out there. He's really seen as an expert, a real authority on habit formation, behavior change, continuous improvement.
Right.
His stuff isn't just theory either. It's like deeply rooted in research, but also practical application. You see his work in major places like Time, Forbes, and his website, jamesclear.com, gets millions of hits. Plus, he has the Habits Academy training platform, so he's really practicing what he preaches.
Absolutely. And for you listening, this deep dive, it's more than just us summarizing a book. We live in this world that's just overflowing, right? Information overload, huge expectations.
Yeah.
It's easy to feel kind of lost or overwhelmed. So this conversation, we hope, offers a path, maybe even a shortcut to understanding how these really small, seemingly insignificant changes, what Clear calls atomic habits, how they can truly reshape your day-to-day life, boost your career, help you reach those big personal dreams, but without that crushing feeling of overwhelm.
Yeah, it's about empowerment, not intimidation.
Exactly. Being empowered by small steps.
And what really gives Clear's work, I think, such authenticity, such power, is that his core ideas, they aren't just theories he cooked up. They come directly from his own life, his own journey. It's a story that just perfectly embodies resilience and the power of these small, consistent actions.
Oh, it's an incredible story. It really underscores everything. So picture this. It's the last day of his sophomore year high school. James Clear's playing baseball, and a bat slips out of someone's hands.
Oh, wow.
Hits him right in the face. Multiple skull fractures, shattered nose, broken eye sockets. I mean, devastating injuries. He even slipped into a coma. And this was after his family had already dealt with his sister's leukemia diagnosis years earlier. So it wasn't just physical trauma. It was deeply profound for him and his family.
Yeah, that kind of thing. It would sideline anyone, maybe for good. But the really amazing part isn't some, single dramatic comeback moment.
Right.
It was this slow, painstaking, deliberate reliance on what he now calls small habits. That's how he rebuilt. Slowly, methodically, getting stronger, improving his grades, and eventually, against pretty much all odds, he got back to playing baseball at a really high level.
Even after being cut from the varsity team as a junior,
Yeah.
which must have been humiliating.
Right. But he kept at it, rejoined as a senior.
And he didn't just get back to normal. By the time he finished university, Denison University, he was named the top male athlete, made the ESPN Academic All-America team, set school records in like 8 different categories,
Wow.
and got the university's highest academic honor, the President's Medal.
Okay.
It's just this incredible journey from that awful injury to such amazing achievement. It wasn't one big leap. It was all about the quiet, compounding power of those tiny, consistent improvements.
He literally lived the philosophy he teaches. It's not just academic for him.
Exactly. He embodies it.
So our mission today for this deep dive is really to pull out the most vital nuggets, the key insights from Atomic Habits. We want to give you clear principles, practical examples, and crucially actionable advice.
Yeah, tools you can actually use.
Exactly. Tools to help you understand how habits work, but more than that, how to actually engineer them. Build the good ones, dismantle the bad ones, and hopefully fundamentally shift your own life's trajectory.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's start with that core idea, the foundation. Why these tiny changes can lead to such massive results. It kicks off with what Claire calls the power of 1%, or the aggregation of marginal gains.
Right.
It almost sounds too simple. Like, surely big change needs big action, right?
Yeah.
Or is that missing the point?
That's exactly the genius of it, I think. We're always looking for that massive overhaul, that one big breakthrough. But this idea, it says significant improvement comes from a relentless commitment to a strategy known as the aggregation of marginal gains.
Relentless commitment.
Yeah. It means you're constantly, almost obsessively, searching for tiny improvements, tiny margins in everything you do, no matter how small it seems. Just looking for those little wins everywhere.
And the story he uses to illustrate this is just fantastic, the British cycling team.
Oh, it's perfect.
For decades, I mean, they were basically a joke in the cycling world. No Tour de France wins in over a century.
110 years, yeah.
Barely any Olympic medals. They were so bad, Claire writes, that a top bike manufacturer actually refused to sell them bikes because they thought it would hurt their brand reputation.
Can you imagine? That's how bad it was. Rock bottom.
But then, almost overnight it seemed, they become world beaters.
Well, it wasn't magic. It was exactly this principle, marginal gains. In 2003, they hired Dave Brailsford as their performance director. And his whole philosophy was break down everything involved in riding a bike, the obvious stuff, the less obvious stuff, even the seemingly absurd stuff, and improve each tiny piece by just 1%.
1%.
Just 1%. He believed those small gains, when added together, when aggregated, would compound into this huge overall advantage. It's about reaching a tipping point through micro improvements.
So they started with the bike, obviously. The mechanics, the seat comfort, tire grip, rider nutrition.
Yeah, the standard things you'd expect. But then they went deeper, much deeper. They looked at the kind of massage gels used for recovery.
Seriously, massage gels.
Yep. The specific pillows each rider used to get the absolute best sleep. Even, like, the best way to wash the inside of the team truck to minimize dust that could affect bike performance. Every single tiny detail. Scrutinized, optimized for that 1% edge.
That's incredible dedication to detail.
And the results. Astonishing. Within 5 years, British cycling went from being also-rans to completely dominating. They won something like 60% of the Olympic gold medals in track cycling at the Beijing Olympics in 2008.
60%.
Yeah. And then multiple Tour de France victories followed. It wasn't about finding some miracle athlete. It was the cumulative effect of hundreds of these tiny, almost invisible improvements that transformed the whole sport for them. That's the aggregation of marginal gains in action.
It's almost like mathematical proof.
So,
Clear lays it out, right?
Yeah.
If you get just 1% better each day for a year, you end up 37 times better by the end of the year. 37 times.
It's staggering when you think about it like that.
But the flip side is just as powerful, maybe more sobering. If you get 1% worse each day, you decline almost down to zero. What seems like a tiny, insignificant daily choice compounds massively over time.
So the relevance for you, listening right now, is huge. What tiny margin of improvement can you find in your own daily routine? It's not about some radical life overhaul tomorrow.
No.
It's about looking for those small, consistent opportunities. Where can you find that 1%?
Okay, so a practical takeaway here. Maybe pause for a second, listener, and think. What's just one small area in your day where you can make a tiny 1% improvement? Don't overthink it.
Right, keep it simple.
Maybe it's drinking one more glass of water. Or spending 2 minutes tidying your workspace before you leave. Or taking literally one deep breath before you jump into your next meeting. Just one small thing.
Yeah, start there. Now, building on that idea of small changes compounding, there's another really key concept we need to unpack: trajectory over results.
Right. This one suggests that, well, how successful or unsuccessful you feel right now isn't actually the most important thing. What really matters is whether your habits, your daily actions, are putting you on the path towards success. It's about focusing more on your current direction, your trajectory, than your current results. Because those results, they're often just looking backwards.
Yeah, they're lagging measures, as Clear calls them. Let's think about some real-world examples, like finances. You could have a millionaire, right? Loads of money now. But if they're consistently spending more than they earn each month, their trajectory is bad. Really bad.
Despite the current bank balance.
Exactly. Those spending habits, if they don't change, will inevitably lead to trouble down the road. But flip that. Someone who's maybe broke right now, but they were disciplined about saving even a tiny amount each month. Their trajectory is positive. They're on the path to financial freedom, even if it feels painfully slow at the start.
It applies everywhere, doesn't it? Your weight right now. That's just a lagging measure of your eating and exercise habits over the last weeks or months.
Your knowledge level, a lagging measure of your learning habit.
That clutter in your house.
Yeah.
A lagging measure of your cleaning habits.
Yeah.
You really do become what you repeatedly do.
Clear uses this great analogy of an airplane. Imagine a plane taking off from Los Angeles, heading for New York City.
Okay.
If the pilot adjusts the heading by just 3.5 degrees, a tiny, almost unnoticeable shift.
You wouldn't even feel it.
Right. But over the thousands of miles of that flight, it doesn't land in New York. It could end up way off, maybe in Washington, D.C. That tiny change in direction, compounded over distance and time, leads to a massively different outcome. Your daily choices, that 1% better or 1% worse, they're setting your course.
The practical thought here for you listening. Think about one important area of your life. Could be your health, your career, maybe a relationship, or a skill you're trying to learn. Are your daily habits honestly aligned with where you want to end up long term? Or are they maybe, subtly, without you even realizing it, steering you somewhere else entirely? It's a really powerful check-in.
And that leads us perfectly into something many of us experience, something that causes a lot of frustration and makes people quit: the plateau of latent potential.
Ah, yes, the plateau. This explains why progress rarely feels like a straight upward line, right?
Exactly. We put in effort and we kind of expect to see immediate visible results. That's just human nature. But the reality is our hard work often accumulates invisibly under the surface for a while before we finally hit some kind of breakthrough.
And that hidden accumulation period, that's the plateau of latent potential.
Mm-hmm.
And the feeling we get during that time, frustration, doubt, like, is this even working? Clear calls that the valley of disappointment.
And that valley, that's precisely where most people give up. They don't see the quick results they expected, so they think the process isn't working and they stop.
When really, they might be just about to break through.
Precisely. The melting ice cube analogy he uses is perfect for this. Imagine an ice cube in a room. The temperature is slowly rising, say, from 25 degrees Fahrenheit up to 31 degrees.
Okay, still frozen.
Right. The whole time, the ice cube looks exactly the same, solid. But then the temperature hits 32 degrees, and suddenly it starts to melt.
The tipping point.
Exactly. All that energy, all that gradual temperature increase from 25 to 31 degrees, it wasn't wasted. It was being stored up in the ice. The full effect of that accumulated change wasn't visible until that final critical degree was reached.
And that's just like our efforts, isn't it? You might be running every day for a month, look in the mirror, see no difference, or study a new language for weeks and still feel like you can barely string a sentence together.
Yeah, it feels like you're stuck spinning your wheels.
But like that ice cube, the work isn't lost. It's being stored. It's building up, compounding, getting ready for that breakthrough moment. But so many people make those small changes, don't see the immediate payoff, and just stop. They quit right before they hit 32 degrees, metaphorically speaking.
And what often looks like overnight success to the outside world, it's almost always the result of months or years of sustained effort during that hidden plateau of latent potential.
Right. People only see the melting, not the slow temperature rise.
Exactly. They see the breakthrough, not the persistent, often unrewarding work that built up to it. The effort you put in way back when it felt like nothing was happening. That's actually what makes the eventual, seemingly sudden leap possible.
That is such a crucial insight. It reframes those periods of apparent stagnation.
Yeah.
So here's a practical challenge based on that. Choose one new habit you want to build. Just one. And commit to sticking with it for at least 30 days.
Consistency.
Even if you see zero immediate results, trust that the compounding effect is happening beneath the surface. Keep showing up. Keep putting in the reps. That breakthrough might be closer than you think.
Yeah, trust the process. Now, let's kind of zoom out a bit. Let's shift from just the mechanics of individual habits to thinking about the bigger picture, moving beyond just goals and focusing on building systems and, critically, building an identity that supports lasting change.
Okay, this is where Atomic Habits really offers a different way of thinking, particularly with this idea. The problem with goals versus the power of systems.
It's a fundamental shift.
So the core idea is, goals are about the results you want, the finish line. But systems are about the processes, the repeatable actions that actually lead to those results.
Right. And if you focus only on the goal, you can end up in this kind of binary trap.
Yeah.
Achieve the goal, happy; fail to achieve the goal, disappointment.
Yeah, it makes happiness conditional on hitting that one specific target.
And it often leads to only temporary change. Or you get stuck in this cycle of constantly chasing the same outcome again and again.
Like the messy room example he gives.
Yeah.
Your goal is a clean room. So you have a massive cleaning session, achieve the goal. Yay, clean room.
Feels good for a moment.
But if you haven't changed the underlying system, the sloppy habits that made the room messy in the first place, what happens?
It just gets messy again, inevitably.
So you're constantly chasing that same clean room goal, treating the symptom, because you never fixed the root cause, the flawed system.
Exactly. So adopting a systems-first mentality means shifting your focus. It means falling in love with the process, the journey, rather than being solely fixated on the destination, the product.
Loving the process.
Yeah. When your system is running well, when you're consistently doing the things that lead towards your goal, you can feel satisfied and successful every day, not just when you hit some arbitrary milestone. You don't have to wait for permission to feel good.
And a well-designed system, it can actually lead to success in lots of different ways, right?
Yeah.
Not just the one specific outcome you first imagined. It makes success more robust, maybe.
Yeah, more resilient, less fragile. You're building a foundation, not just aiming at a single target.
So a practical way to shift your thinking here. Take a goal you have. Let's say, I want to run a marathon. Try reframing it around the system.
Okay.
Instead, think, my system is training 3 times a week. That's the process. That's something you can control, you can measure, you can feel good about executing today, regardless of how far away marathon day seems.
That's a powerful shift. And that focus on the doing leads perfectly into what I think is maybe the most profound concept in the book: identity-based habits.
Ah, yes. This feels like the real core of making changes stick long term.
It really is. The central idea is bold. True, sustainable behavior change is ultimately identity change.
So it's not just about what you do, but who you believe you are.
Precisely. It's one thing to say, I want to be fit. That's an outcome goal. It's entirely different and way more powerful to genuinely believe and say, I am a fit person. That's an identity.
And how does that identity shift actually drive behavior?
Well, think about it. The more pride you have in a certain aspect of your identity, the more naturally motivated you are to maintain the habits associated with it. If you're proud of your well-kept garden, you automatically do the things needed to maintain it.
Yeah. You weed, you water. It's just what a person with a nice garden does.
Yeah. Exactly. If you take pride in being a good cook, you practice, you try new recipes. If you identify as a reader, you make time to read. Once your pride, your sense of self, gets tangled up with a behavior, you'll almost unconsciously fight to maintain the habits that reaffirm that identity.
So our beliefs about ourselves, whether we're even aware of them or not, they're like the bedrock for our habits.
Totally. They're the foundation. So if you want to change your behavior for good, you have to go deeper. You have to change the underlying beliefs about who you actually are.
Which brings up the big question. How do you actually do that? How do you cultivate that new identity? How do you go from I want to be X to I am X?
It starts with small wins, proving it to yourself.
Okay, so here's some actionable advice on that identity piece.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of setting a goal like, I will write a book this year,
Mm-hmm.
try reframing it as an identity. I am a writer. And then once you've embraced that identity, ask yourself this simple question each day. What would a writer do today?
That shifts the focus immediately to action. What's the next small step that aligns with that identity?
Exactly. It's a subtle but incredibly powerful shift in mindset that changes how you approach your daily actions. Every time you sit down to write, even for 5 minutes, you're casting a vote for being a writer.
Okay, fantastic. Now, let's peel back another layer. Let's get into the actual science of how habits form, the nuts and bolts, starting with the 4-step loop.
Right, the loop. Cue, craving, response, reward. We've probably all heard those terms before, but what's the deeper insight here? What makes this loop so powerful?
Well, the core idea is that every single habit, good or bad, follows this precise neurological feedback loop. But the real aha is often how fast and how non-conscious this whole process is.
Okay, break it down. The cue.
The cue is just the trigger. It's a bit of information that predicts a reward is coming and kicks off the behavior. Originally, these were primary rewards, like the sight of food or water.
Basic survival stuff.
Exactly. But now, cues are often linked to secondary rewards, like money, praise, approval, that notification sound on your phone. Your brain is constantly scanning the environment, predicting what's next, often without you realizing it.
Okay, then comes the craving.
This is the engine. It's the motivational force, the desire for the reward that the cue predicted. And here's a key point. It's the wanting, not necessarily the liking.
Wanting versus liking. Interesting.
Yeah, and what's wild is you don't even need to be consciously aware of the cue for a craving to ignite. Think about hunger. Sometimes you just suddenly feel starving.
Yeah.
You might not realize what subtle cue, internal or external, actually triggered that feeling. The craving can arise non-consciously.
Makes sense. Next is the response.
That's the actual habit you perform. Could be a physical action like picking up your phone or even just a thought pattern. Whether you actually perform the response depends on a few things: how motivated you are, how much friction or effort is involved.
I mean, as easy as it to do.
Exactly. And your actual ability. You can only do a habit if you're capable of doing it in that moment.
And finally, the payoff. The reward.
Right. The reward is the end goal. It does 2 critical things. First, it satisfies that initial craving, giving you that immediate sense of relief or pleasure. Second, and this is crucial for habit formation, it teaches your brain, it says, hey, that sequence cue, craving, response, it worked. File that away. Let's do it again next time.
So the reward closes the loop and reinforces the behavior for the future.
Precisely. And this whole 4-step cycle cue, craving, response, reward, it's running constantly. in the background, often in a split second, largely outside of your conscious awareness. Your brain is just predicting, trying, learning, refining constantly.
The upside of this automation is huge, right? It frees up our brain power.
Absolutely. Habits reduce cognitive load. They make routine actions automatic so our conscious mind can focus on new things, solve complex problems, learn new skills. Building good habits now basically frees up mental energy for your future self.
But there's a downside too, a danger.
Definitely. Because habits operate so often without our conscious thought, it's incredibly easy to slip into old, unwanted patterns before we even notice what's happening. It reminds me of that Carl Jung quote.
Until you make the unconscious conscious.
It will direct your life, and you will call it fate. That's the risk. Our automated habits can end up steering our lives without our intentional input.
So the big question is, how do we take control?
Yeah.
How do we consciously use this loop to our advantage? And that's where Clear introduces the 4 laws of behavior change.
Exactly. A practical framework to make good habits inevitable and bad habits basically impossible. Let's start with Law 1, make it obvious. Or, for bad habits, make it invisible.
Okay, make it obvious. The core idea seems to be awareness first.
Absolutely. You can't deliberately change a habit if you're not even aware you're doing it. Since so many habits are automatic, mindless, the very first step is to bring them into conscious awareness.
And he offers a tool for this, right? The habit scorecard.
Yeah, it's a simple exercise where you list out your daily habits and just become aware of them. But even more powerful, I think, is the example from the Japanese railway system. They're known for incredible safety records.
Right.
And their operators use this technique called pointing and calling.
Pointing and calling.
Yeah. As the train approaches a signal, the operator literally points at it and calls out, "Signal is green." They point at the speedometer, announce the speed, point at the timetable, state the time.
It sounds a bit much.
It might seem like it, but it's a brilliant awareness technique. By actively engaging multiple senses, sight, movement, speech, hearing, they make it much harder to miss something. It forces conscious attention onto critical elements, pulling them out of the realm of automatic pilot. And it works. It reduces errors by something like 85%, accidents by 30%.
Wow. Okay, so how can we apply that pointing and calling idea ourselves?
Well, say you're trying to break a bad habit, like mindlessly snacking. When you find yourself reaching for that bag of chips, try actually saying out loud, "I am about to eat these chips. I'm not actually hungry, and eating them will make me feel sluggish and derail my health goals."
Saying it out loud.
Yeah, it makes the action and its consequences much more tangible, more real. It adds a layer of conscious friction to the mindless habit.
Okay, that makes sense. So awareness is step 1. What else falls under make it obvious?
Designing your environment is huge. One key strategy is using implementation intentions. This is just about being super specific about when and where you'll perform your new habit.
Not just, I'll exercise more.
No, way too vague. The formula is simple. I will behave at time and location. So, I will meditate for 1 minute at 7 a.m. in my kitchen, or I will study Spanish for 15 minutes at 8 p.m. at my desk.
Why is that specificity so powerful?
It eliminates ambiguity. It creates a clear plan and primes your brain to expect the action at that time and place. It also makes it easier to say no to other things that might compete for that slot. It pre-decides the action.
Okay. And then there's habit stacking.
Right. This is genius. You link a new habit you want to build onto an existing habit that's already well established. The formula is, after current habit, I will new habit.
Like, after I brush my teeth, I will floss 1 tooth.
Perfect example. Or, after I pour my morning coffee, I will think of one thing I'm grateful for. You're basically hijacking the momentum of the old habit to launch the new one. It leverages the brain's natural tendency to chain behaviors together, sometimes called the Diderot effect.
The Diderot effect,
Yeah.
where one new thing leads to another.
Exactly. Use that chaining tendency for good habits.
And we can also physically redesign our environment.
Hugely important. Physical environment redesign. Make the cues for your desired habits impossible to miss. Want to take your vitamins? Put the bottle right next to your toothbrush.
Want to practice guitar?
Don't hide it in the closet. Put it on a stand in the living room where you'll constantly see it. Want to eat more fruit? Keep a fruit bowl on the counter, not hidden in the fridge drawer.
Make the right choice the easy, obvious choice.
Precisely. He mentions the famous example of the little fly sticker etched into the urinals at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
It gave men an obvious target, drastically reduced spillage, and cut cleaning costs significantly. A tiny, obvious visual cue changed behavior.
Because context is the cue, right? Our habits are tied to the environments where we perform them.
Absolutely. Which is why it's often easier to build new habits in a new environment. Or if you can't change environments, consciously redesign or repurpose your current ones, like the advice given to insomniacs. Only get into bed when you're actually tired. Reassociate the bed purely with sleep, not with watching TV or worrying.
So the one space, one use idea.
Oh, it's a powerful principle. If possible, try to have distinct spaces for distinct activities. Your desk is for work, your couch is for relaxing, your dining table is for eating, your bed is for sleeping. This helps create clear contextual cues for your brain. If you work from your bed, it's no wonder it's hard to switch off at night.
Okay, that's making good habits obvious. Now, the flip side for bad habits, make it invisible.
Right. And the crucial insight here is that self-control isn't really about having heroic willpower. It's more about being architect of your environment, creating a space where you don't need as much willpower.
Because once a habit is wired in, the cue triggers the urge almost automatically.
Exactly, even after years. Trying to resist temptation constantly when you're surrounded by cues is exhausting and often futile. It's easier to just remove the cue altogether.
The Vietnam War heroin example is pretty stark here.
It really is. You had 15–20% of U.S. soldiers reportedly addicted to heroin in Vietnam, a huge problem. But studies found that when they came home, something like 90% of those addicted soldiers simply quit almost immediately, often without formal rehab.
Wow.
Why?
Because the environment changed completely. The cues associated with drug use, the stress of war, the social context, the easy availability, they were all gone. Remove the cues, and the habit often dissolves. It highlights how powerful the environment is in triggering behavior. Cut the habit off at the source.
So, practical advice for making bad habits invisible.
Reduce exposure. Simple as that. If you can't focus because of your phone, leave it in another room when you need to concentrate.
If scrolling social media makes you feel bad.
Unfollow the accounts that trigger envy or anxiety. Be ruthless about curating your feed.
Watching too much TV.
Get the TV out of the bedroom. Make it less convenient.
Playing too many video games.
Unplug the console after each use, maybe even put it away in a closet. Add friction. Make the cue less visible, less accessible.
It's about designing your environment for success, not relying solely on willpower.
Exactly. Discipline is often just about creating a better environment. Okay, that's Law 1. Ready for Law 2?
Let's do it. Law 2, make it attractive. Or make it unattractive for bad habits.
So this law taps into the brain's reward system. Habits are essentially dopamine-driven feedback loops.
Dopamine, the pleasure chemical.
Well, that's the common understanding, but it's more nuanced. Dopamine is released not just when you get a reward, but perhaps even more powerfully when you anticipate one.
Ah, the anticipation.
Yes, the anticipation, the wanting, is what actually drives the action. Scientists now believe dopamine is less about the pleasure of having and more about the motivation, the desire, the seeking. Your brain actually has more circuitry dedicated to wanting rewards than to liking them.
That's fascinating. Wanting is stronger than liking.
Often, yes. And modern society is incredibly good at hijacking the system with what Clear calls supernormal stimuli.
Supernormal stimuli.
Exaggerated versions of things we're naturally wired to find attractive. Think hyperpalatable junk food engineered with the perfect blend of salt, sugar, and fat to maximize craving.
Or the endless scroll and variable rewards of social media likes.
Exactly. Or digitally manipulated images in advertising. These things overload our natural reward pathways, driving excessive cravings and habits.
So how do we fight back? How do we make the good habits more attractive? One strategy is temptation bundling.
Yes! This is such a clever technique. You pair an action you want to do with an action you need to do.
The example of the engineering student, Ronan Byrne, is brilliant.
Oh, the Netflix bike? Yeah, tell that one.
So he loved watching Netflix, but he knew he needed to exercise more. So he literally hacked his stationary bike, hooked it up to his laptop, and wrote code so that Netflix would only play if he was cycling above a certain speed.
If he slowed down.
The show paused.
Yeah.
He bundled the want, Netflix, with the need exercise.
Genius. It really is. And you can make this even more powerful by combining it with habit stacking. The formula could be 1. After my current habit, I will habit I need. 2. After habit I need, I will habit I want.
Okay, give me an example.
All right. After I finish work emails, current habit, I will do 15 minutes of tidying up my office, habit I need. After I tidy my office, I will listen to my favorite podcast, habit I want.
So you link the need to both an existing habit and a future reward. Makes the need feel less like a chore and more like a bridge to something enjoyable.
Exactly. It amps up the attractiveness. Another huge lever for making habits attractive is leveraging social norms.
Ah, the power of the tribe.
Absolutely. We are fundamentally social creatures. We have this deep, innate desire to fit in, to belong, to earn the respect and approval of our peers. It's baked into our evolutionary history.
And this influences our habits massively, often unconsciously.
Hugely. Clear says we tend to imitate the habits of three key groups. First, the close. Our friends, family, colleagues, the people we spend the most time with.
Their habits rub off on us.
Immensely. He tells a story about smoking in Istanbul where someone says, it always starts with your friends. One friend smokes, then you try it. The pull of your immediate circle is incredibly strong.
Okay, second group.
The many. The prevailing culture. The majority. We look to see what's normal. We check reviews, follow trends. There's safety and validation in numbers.
Like that chimpanzee study he mentions.
Yeah, fascinating. A chimp learned a better way to crack nuts, but when it joined a knee group that used a less efficient method, the chimp abandoned its superior technique just to conform.
Wow. Fitting in trumped efficiency.
The desire to belong is powerful. The normal behavior of the tribe often overpowers even rational individual choices.
And the third group.
The powerful. People with high status, those we admire, respect, or maybe even envy, we're drawn to behaviors that we think will earn us status and approval.
We copy successful people because we want their success.
Exactly. It's why coaches study other winning coaches, why businesses emulate successful competitors. We try to replicate what seems to work for those we perceive as powerful or successful.
So the actionable advice here for making good habits attractive is,
surround yourself wisely. Intentionally join groups and cultures where your desired behavior is the norm. If you want to read more, join a book club. Want to exercise consistently? Join a running group or a gym where people are genuinely committed.
make the desired behavior feel normal, accepted, even admired within your social context.
Precisely. When the people around you are doing what you want to do, it makes that habit seem much more attractive and achievable.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Let's move on to Law 3. Make it easy.
Oh.
Or make it difficult for bad habits.
This one feels almost obvious, but its implications are huge. It's based on a fundamental principle of human behavior, the law of least effort.
We're naturally lazy.
Well, maybe efficient is a kinder word. But yes, we instinctively gravitate towards the option that requires the least amount of work, the path of least resistance. It's true in physics, and it's deeply true for our behavior.
He uses that example from Jared Diamond about agriculture spreading.
Yeah, in Guns, Germs, and Steel. Agriculture spread much faster east-west across Eurasia than north-south in the Americas or Africa. Why? Because climates and growing seasons were more similar along the same latitude. It was just easier for crops and farming techniques to spread horizontally.
Less friction meant faster adoption.
Exactly. And the same applies directly to our habits. If starting a habit requires a huge amount of energy and effort, it feels exhausting and we're likely to quit. But if it requires almost zero effort to start, it's much more likely to happen.
Like doing one push-up versus aiming for 50 right away.
Precisely. Reduce the activation energy. Make it ridiculously easy to begin.
So a key strategy is reduce friction. Actively design your environment to remove obstacles to good habits.
Yes. We talked about making cues obvious, but this is about making the action itself smoother. Want to go to the gym more often? Choose a gym that's literally on your commute. Stopping there adds almost no extra time or effort to your existing routine.
Remove the hassle.
Remove the hassle. Think about successful businesses often. They succeed through addition by subtraction. Japanese companies improved manufacturing by cutting wasted steps. Habit-forming apps and services, meal kits, ride-sharing, voice assistants, they all work by removing friction, automating steps, simplifying choices.
It's easier to say, Alexa, order more coffee, than to open an app, search, add to cart, checkout.
Way easier. They remove the tiny bits of friction that stop us from acting.
We can also prime the environment for future actions, like Oswald Knuckles' resetting the room strategy.
I love that one. After he watches TV, he doesn't just leave. He puts the remote back, fluffs the pillows, folds the blanket. While the shower warms up, he wipes down the toilet.
He's not just cleaning up the past, he's setting up the future.
Exactly. He's preparing the environment for the next intended action, making it frictionless to step into a tidy, ready space later. It reduces future effort.
So practical things we can do. Lay out workout clothes the night before.
Yep. Put the healthy breakfast ingredients on the counter before bed.
Chop veggies on the weekend for easy snacks all week.
Organize your desk so the tools for your most important task are right at hand. Make the next step easy, almost inevitable.
These small setup actions happen at what Clear calls decisive moments.
Right. Your day is full of moments, but some are forks in the road. Small choices that set your trajectory for the next block of time.
Like choosing takeout versus cooking dinner.
Or grabbing the car keys versus the bike helmet, starting homework versus firing up the game console. These small choices cascade.
So habits are like the entry point, the cab, not the gym.
Perfect analogy. The habit is the small initial action that gets you moving in the right direction. Making that first step incredibly easy is key.
Which leads directly to the 2-minute rule.
Such a simple but powerful rule. When starting a new habit, make it so easy that it takes less than 2 minutes to do.
So read every day becomes.
Read one page.
Maybe 30 minutes of yoga becomes.
Take out my yoga mat.
Study for my exam becomes.
Open my notes. Just focus on mastering the first 2 minutes. Ritualize the beginning.
Why does this work so well?
It lowers the activation energy almost to zero. It makes it incredibly hard not to start. And often, once you've started, momentum takes over. Like the reader he mentions who lost over 100 pounds.
By committing to just starting her run.
Yeah, her rule was she just had to run for 2 minutes, then she could stop.
Yeah.
But by consistently showing up and starting, she often found herself naturally continuing for much longer. The key was making the start non-negotiable and incredibly easy.
And once you've mastered the 2-minute start, you can gradually increase it using habit shaping.
Exactly. Master the first 2 minutes of read one page, then maybe aim for 5 minutes, then 10. Scale it up slowly, but only after the initial habit is firmly established.
This also ties into the idea of prioritizing repetition, not perfection.
Critically important. Every time you perform a habit, you're strengthening the neural circuits involved. It's like carving a path in your brain. Neurons that fire together wire together.
The more you do it, the more automatic it becomes.
Exactly. He points to evidence like London taxi drivers having larger hippocampi for spatial memory, or musicians having larger cerebellums. Practice physically changes your brain.
So the key takeaway isn't how long you've been trying a habit.
No, it's how many times you've actually done it. Frequency trumps duration, especially early on. Just put in the reps. Show up consistently, even if it's imperfect, even if it's just for 2 minutes. That repetition is what builds the habit.
Okay, makes sense. Law 3, make it easy. Now for the final law. Law 4, make it satisfying. Or make it unsatisfying for bad habits.
That gets to the core of why habits stick or fade. Clear calls it the cardinal rule of behavior change. What is immediately rewarded gets repeated. What is immediately punished gets avoided.
Our brains are wired for immediate gratification.
Totally. We evolved in an environment where immediate rewards, food, safety, were crucial for survival. Delayed rewards were uncertain. So we have this strong bias towards immediate outcomes.
Which creates a problem for good habits.
Right. Things like exercise, saving money, studying. They often involve an immediate cost, effort, sacrifice, for a delayed benefit.
While bad habits, junk food, procrastination, smoking, often give immediate pleasure or relief, but the costs are delayed.
It's an uneven playing field. Our brains naturally prefer the immediate payoff, even if it hurts us long term. As the economist Bastiat said, the immediate consequence is often favorable, but the later consequences are disastrous, and vice versa for good habits.
So to make good habits stick, we need to find a way to feel immediately successful.
Exactly. We need to bridge that gap and add immediate pleasure to good habits.
Like the hand-washing project in Pakistan.
Perfect example. Stephen Luby found that even though people knew hand washing was important, consistency was low. The conditions weren't great. It wasn't a pleasant experience.
So what did they do?
They introduced a better soap safeguard that lathered well and, crucially, smelled really nice. It made the act of hand washing immediately more pleasant, more satisfying.
And that small change made a huge difference.
Huge. Hand washing rates soared. Child health improved significantly. Adding that immediate sensory reward made the habit stick. It felt good in the moment.
So how can we apply that? Create our own immediate rewards.
Yes, but choose them carefully. The reward should reinforce the habit and your desired identity. For example, if you're saving money, set up a separate savings account, name something exciting, like Hawaii Trip Fund.
Okay.
Every time you skip buying that expensive coffee or resist an impulse purchase, immediately transfer the money you saved into that fund. Seeing the balance grow, even by a small amount, provides immediate visual satisfaction. It reinforces the saving habit right away.
But avoid conflicting rewards, right? Like don't reward a workout with a donut.
Exactly. That sends mixed signals. Choose rewards aligned with your identity. If you're building a health habit, maybe the reward is booking a massage or buying some new workout gear or just taking 5 minutes to savor the feeling of accomplishment. Make the reward reinforce the person you want to become.
Okay, now for bad habits. Make it unsatisfying. Add immediate pain.
Sounds harsh, but pain is a very effective teacher. If failing has immediate, tangible, negative consequences, we learn very quickly not to repeat that behavior. The more immediate and costly the mistake, the faster we adapt.
That Roger Fisher idea about the nuclear launch codes is intense.
It's extreme, definitely a thought experiment. But his point was, implant the codes next to a volunteer's heart so the president would have to physically kill someone to launch the missiles. The immediate visceral horror and pain would make the act impossible. It illustrates how powerful immediate consequences can be in preventing an action.
So a more practical tool is the habit contract.
Yes. This is where you make a formal or informal agreement, ideally with an accountability partner, stating your commitment to a habit and outlining a specific punishment if you fail.
Like Brian Harris in his diet contract.
Right. He agreed with his wife and trainer that if he missed logging his food or weighing himself, he'd have to wear a suit to work the next day, which he hated, and pay his trainer $200.
Ouch. That's real immediate pain, social embarrassment, and financial cost.
Exactly. It made the cost of not doing the habit immediate, public, and painful enough to ensure compliance.
Even without a formal contract, just having an accountability partner helps.
Immensely. Just knowing someone else is watching, someone whose opinion you value, provides a powerful immediate motivator. You don't want to let them down or look lazy or unreliable. That potential social cost makes you more likely to stick to your commitment. Like Thomas Frank having his assistant change his social media passwords, the friction and slight embarrassment of asking for them back was enough to curb the habit.
So making the consequences, good or bad, felt now, not just later.
That's the essence of Law 4. Okay, those are the 4 laws. Now, should we dive into some of the more advanced strategies for really achieving mastery and staying motivated long term?
Yeah, let's do it. First up, the truth about talent, playing the right game.
This acknowledges that, well, genes do matter. Our genetics influence our personality traits, the big 5: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism.
So we're predisposed to certain things.
Yeah, we have natural inclinations and aptitudes. And while hard work is absolutely essential, the reality is that choosing habits and pursuits that align with your natural strengths makes them feel more satisfying, easier, and more sustainable. You're working with your grain, not against it.
It's like choosing the right sport for your body type.
Kind of, yeah. Or choosing a career that fits your personality. It leads to this idea of the explore-exploit trade-off.
Explore, exploit.
In the beginning of something new, a career path, a hobby, even relationships, you should have a period of exploration. Try different things, sample broadly, learn about the landscape.
Like a liberal arts education, maybe?
Good example. But after that exploration phase, you identify what works best for you, what feels like the best fit, and then you shift to exploitation. You double down, focus your energy, and deepen your skills in that area.
So how do you find that right game?
Clear's advice is great. Find a game where the odds are stacked in your favor. If you can't find one, create one.
Create your own game.
Yeah. He mentions his own college major, biomechanics, which combined physics, chemistry, biology, anatomy. Maybe he wasn't going to be the single best physicist or biologist, but by combining his strengths, he created a unique niche where he could excel.
So find where your skills overlap uniquely.
Exactly. Combine your strengths to reduce the competition and stand out. Work hard, yes, but work hard on the things that also come a bit more naturally or feel more engaging to you. Leverage your disposition.
Okay, interesting. Next advanced strategy, the Goldilocks rule, staying motivated.
This is all about finding that sweet spot of challenge. Humans feel peak motivation, peak engagement when they're working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities.
Not too easy, not too hard.
But just right. That's the Goldilocks zone. It's related to the Yerkes-Dodson law in psychology. Performance peaks at an optimal level of arousal or challenge.
The Steve Martin example illustrates this well.
Oh yeah, his comedy career. Started doing magic tricks at Disneyland as a kid, then small clubs. And for something like 15 years, he only expanded his stand-up routine by maybe a minute or two each year.
That's slow.
Yeah. always adding a little new material, pushing his edge slightly, but keeping enough familiar stuff to guarantee some laughs. That balance of manageable challenge and consistent success kept him motivated, kept him honing his craft until he became massive.
It's like playing tennis with someone who's your equal.
Right, perfect analogy. You win some, you lose some, you have to really try, stretch yourself, you get completely absorbed. That's the feeling of operating at the edge of your competence. That's where flow happens. That's where motivation thrives.
So the actionable advice is to design your habits, your practice, to be challenging enough to keep you engaged, but not so hard that you get discouraged and quit.
Exactly. Constantly seek challenges that push you slightly, that keep you in that optimal zone of difficulty.
Okay, now for a really interesting one, maybe a bit counterintuitive. The greatest threat, falling in love with boredom.
It's huge. Clear argues that the biggest threat to long-term success isn't usually failure, it's boredom.
Boredom, not failure.
Yeah. Because as habits become automatic, as you get good at something, it inevitably becomes less novel, less exciting, and less immediately satisfying. The routine sets in.
And that's when people drop off.
Often, yes. He tells that story about the weightlifting coach.
The one working with Olympians.
Right. Asked what separates the absolute best from everyone else, the coach said it boils down to who can handle the boredom of training every day, doing the same lifts over and over and over.
Wow, that really flips the script on passion and motivation.
It does. It suggests successful people don't have some magical, endless supply of passion. They've cultivated the ability to show up, to do the work, even when they don't feel like it, even when it feels repetitive and boring. Professionals stick to the schedule. Amateurs let moods and boredom dictate their actions.
So mastery requires pushing through that inevitable boredom of repetition.
Exactly. The more expert you become, the more practice is required, and often the more routine that practice feels. The challenge isn't just getting started, it's staying committed when the novelty wears off. Every single person on a path to mastery eventually faces the challenge of embracing the mundane.
So the advice is, suck it up.
Kind of, yeah. Embrace the mundane. Find ways to just put in the reps day after day, especially on the days you feel zero inspiration. It's not about feeling passionate about every single workout or practice session. It's about being the kind of person who doesn't miss workouts or practice sessions. Showing up when it's boring is a powerful vote for your identity.
Okay, that's a tough but important one. This leads nicely into the next strategy, continuous improvement. Reflection and review.
Right, because while automaticity is the goal of habits, the potential downside is that you can stop paying attention. You become less sensitive to feedback, you let small errors creep in, you stop actively looking for ways to get better.
So just doing the reps isn't enough for long-term growth.
Not if you want to reach peak performance and keep improving. Blind repetition can even lead to performance declining slightly over time if you're not mindful. You need a system for reflection and refinement.
Like Coach John Wooden's approach.
Yeah, the legendary basketball coach. During practice, he'd apparently focus on correcting just one player on one specific mistake, then move on. Very targeted, immediate feedback to prevent players from just mindlessly repeating flawed movements.
Or Pat Riley's championship effort score with the Lakers.
Brilliant system. He tracks stats way beyond points and rebounds things like deflections, taking charges, diving for loose balls, even mental mistakes. Then he challenged each player to improve their overall CBE score by just 1% over the season.
Giving them clear, objective feedback for constant marginal improvement.
Exactly. Chris Rock does it too, testing jokes relentlessly in small clubs, meticulously noting what works, what doesn't, constantly refining before a big special.
And executives using decision journals.
Yeah, recording why they made a decision, what they expect to happen, and then reviewing it later to learn from hits and misses. It forces honest self-assessment.
So the takeaway for us is to build in regular review.
Absolutely. Periodically take stock of your habits and your progress. Are small errors creeping in? Are there areas for slight optimization? Even just keeping a simple habit tracker or a journal can help maintain that mindfulness and provide feedback for continuous improvement.
Don't just automate, reflect and refine. Okay, final advanced concept, redefining identity for resilience.
This is about preparing for life's inevitable changes. Our roles shift, we change jobs, relationships end, we retire, kids grow up. If your entire identity is too tightly wrapped up in one specific role, I'm a partner at this firm, I'm a parent of young children, I'm a marathon runner, You can really struggle when that role changes or ends.
You lose your sense of self.
It can feel like that, yeah, a real identity crisis. So the idea is to cultivate a more flexible, more fundamental identity.
How does that work?
You redefine yourself based on the underlying qualities or values that role represented, rather than the role itself. So, I'm an athlete could become, I'm the type of person who is mentally tough and loves a physical challenge.
So even if you can't compete anymore, you can still embody those qualities in other ways.
Exactly. I'm a great soldier might transform into, I'm the type of person who is disciplined, reliable, and works well on a team. I'm the CEO becomes, I'm the type of person who builds and creates things.
It makes your identity less fragile, more adaptable to changing circumstances.
Precisely. A flexible identity can flow around obstacles, like water. It works with life's changes rather than being shattered by them. It builds resilience for the long haul.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot of ground we've covered. A really deep dive into Atomic Habits. Let's try to quickly recap the biggest takeaways.
Sounds good. First, those tiny, seemingly insignificant changes getting just 1% better, they compound over time into truly remarkable results. Don't underestimate the power of small, consistent gains.
Second, shift your focus. Worry less about hitting specific goals and more about building effective systems and cultivating an identity that aligns with who you want to become. Fall in love with the process.
Third, leverage the 4 laws. Make your good habits obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. And invert those laws. Make bad habits invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying to break the cycles you want to escape. It's a practical toolkit.
And finally, embrace the journey of mastery. Understand your natural inclinations. Stay motivated by operating at the edge of your abilities. Goldilocks rule. Learn to push through boredom. Constantly reflect and refine and build a resilient, flexible identity.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We really hope unpacking Atomic Habits has given you some clear, actionable insights for your own journey of growth and improvement.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. And we want to leave you with one final provocative thought to chew on this week. Claire makes this interesting observation. Satisfaction, liking, wanting.
Liking minus wanting.
Right. If your wanting consistently outstrips your liking, if your desires always race ahead of your appreciation for what you have or what you're doing, you're basically setting yourself up for perpetual dissatisfaction.
Always chasing the next thing, never content.
Exactly. So the question to ponder is, how can you consciously work to narrow that gap? Maybe not by simply wanting less, but perhaps by finding more immediate satisfaction, more liking, in the process, in the journey of becoming the person you aspire to be. Finding joy in the reps, not just the results.
Finding satisfaction in the system itself.
Precisely. So what one atomic habit will you implement or maybe refine starting this week to cast a vote for the identity you want to build and shape the trajectory you want to be on? Something to think about.
If you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more such videos.